breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Good morning from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to go guest-free today. We've got a lot of my normal guests currently tied up with Memorial Day activities, what have you, so we're going to fly solo on this one, give you guys a look at some of the trends that we're seeing in baseball right now. What teams have been great to the over, to the under? What are we seeing in terms of most and least profitable pitchers? Some home and road splits. So we're just going to do a little bit of a roundup because now we've had Memorial Day. Many people think that Memorial Day is when you can no longer say it's just too early, it's no longer just a small sample size. Now you've got a good sample size of data. So we're going to be diving in on that in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, name does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Sunday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Cubs continue to struggle. 8 straight losses for them as the Astros, they get the job done. This by a count of 8-5 for Shota Imanaga. He's had a nice start to the season, but now it's starting to regress quite a bit. He gives up 7 runs in 6 innings. Second straight start in which he gave up 7+ runs as he was taken deep by Christian Walker, 14th home run of the campaign. Nick Allen, he gets his first home run of the season. Then you had Jacob Myers be able to get a second home run of the season as well. Peter Lambert, he gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, AJ Blubaugh does give up 2 runs in his 2 innings. Michael Busch take him deep for his 5th home run of the season. Brian Abreu, Nate Pearson, they both end a scoreless inning, and then you had Phil Matone supply a scoreless inning. Caleb Theobar gives up a run in an inning. Ethan Roberts, scoreless inning, but by then the damage had been done. Being able to do some damage, the Minnesota Twins, as the Red Sox, they are now 8-17 at home this year with about 3.1 runs per game at Fenway. 6-5, the Twins find a way to persevere here. Bailey Ober, not necessarily super sharp, 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. They give up a pair of bombs as you had Wilson Contreras get his 11th home run of the season, Masataka Yoshida his first, but bullpen from there does his part. You had Yandris Gomez give up a run in 1 1/3 innings. Travis Adams had to come in to get the final out on 1 pitch in the 9th inning. Anthony Banda prior to that, along with Eric Gorze, both give you a scoreless inning, and then you had Taylor Rogers give you an out of the bullpen squirrels. Sonny Gray, not long for this game, 3 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. From there, Danny Kalum was able to give you a scoreless inning. He's fresh off the injury list, but you had Garrett Woodlock along with Tyron Guerrero. They gave up a combined 3 runs in their inning of work, and for the bullpen, they had Giovanni Morin, Greg Weisert, and Ryan Watson from there hold down the fort with a scoreless inning apiece, but that was really the one that broke the back, and for the Red Sox, not looking great out there in the AL East, especially with the Rays and the Yankees with what they're doing, and they did battle on Sunday, and it was the Yankees being able to get it done by a count of 2-0. Ryan Weathers, well, he weathers the storm. 7 shutout innings. Fernando Cruz, Tim Hill, they both give you a shutout inning, and for Drew Rasmussen, he was great. Gave up no runs over the course of his 7 innings, and then Kevin Kelly, he gets taken deep by Aaron Judge in the 9th inning. 17th home run of the season. He had Lenta scoreless 8th inning, and then Judge walks it off in the 9th. So the Yankees now 31-22. Rays continue to have that best record in the American League, 34-16, despite the loss. For the Orioles, they played a pair against the Tigers. They got it done in Game 1 and not in Game 2. In Game 1, 5-3, they get the win as Framber Valdez was more than good enough for the Tigers in this game. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. That 1 run, a solo shot to Gunnar Henderson, 11th home run of the season. From there, Wolves a scoreless inning, but then Kyle Finnegan gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. It was an inherited 1 runner to Kenley Jansen, who gives up 3 runs in the 9th inning. And for Jansen, he gives up a walk-off homer to Colton Cowser, his 2nd home run of the campaign. Kenley Jansen, not great to say the least. And Brandon Young, well, he was pretty great in this game. 6 2/3 innings, allowed 2 runs, both of which were unearned, hurt by a Pete Alonso throwing error. From there, Keegan Aiken gives up a run in an inning. Dedrick Hines, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, so he was able to pick up the W. And then in game number 2, the Tigers reverse the script, 4-1. They're able to take down the Orioles as for Troy Melton, he gets the surprise start here, gives up 1 run in 5 2/3 innings. Tyler Olin from there, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Derek Anderson, 2 shutout innings to get the save, and Trevor Rogers just continues to struggle. 4 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings. Dylan Dingler takes him deep, 10th home run in the campaign. Andrew Kittredge not out of the bullpen scoreless. You did have 4 scoreless innings in this one from one Mr. Albert Suarez, but damage by then had been done, and for the Tigers, they had lost, I believe, 15 out of their last 17 games prior prior to that W. For the Guardians, they get a W, 3-1. They take down the Philadelphia Phillies. Parker Messick continues to be great. 5 2/3 innings scoreless from their Colin Olderman, lives up to his name, and out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Hunter Gaddis 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. You had Cade Smith give you a scoreless inning, and Tim Aaron, pair of outside the bullpen. He gives up 1 run along the way, and then Andrew Painter, 2 runs allowed in 6 2/3 innings. From there, Tim Mesa, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Jonathan Bolin, Tanner Banks, they both supply a scoreless inning, but for the Guardians, their pitching got the job done as the Phillies 0 of 7 with men in scoring position. For the Mets, they were unable to score on Sunday themselves. 4-0, the Miami Marlins get it done. Tyler Phillips, he was pretty much the opener plus in this game, for lack of a better term. 3 2/3 innings scoreless. From there, Calvin Fauché, John King combined for 2 shutout innings. Anthony Bender, a scoreless inning. Michael Peterson, great name, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Pete Fairbanks, scoreless 9th inning to clean things up. And great Scott, Christian Scott was good. 5 2/3 innings scoreless. Oscar Brisbane, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Brooks Raley, a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Luke Weaver, a scoreless 8th inning. And then Devin Williams gives up all 4 runs in the 9th inning as Alberto Hernandez, a walk-off grand slam, his second home run of the campaign. And Devin Williams, he is still seeing that ball fly out there in Milwaukee that he served up to Pete Alonso and has not been the same ever since then. So that's rough for our Mets team. That's out 22-31. That's not where you want to be, but for the Pirates, they're getting back to where they want to be. Above 500, 4-1. They do take down the Toronto Blue Jays. Dylan Cease, he was out long for this game. He gives up 2 runs in 4 2/3 innings, both of which were solo home runs. That's O'Neill Cruz, 11th home run of the campaign. Spencer Horwitz is 5th. A little bit later on, you would have a home run given up by Chase Lee. 1 2/3 innings. He does give up that home run as it was number 1 of the season for Marilyn Valdez. Hopefully I got that correct. It was his MLB debut, and he went yard, so congratulations to him. Mason Flaherty, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Brandon Fisher, Uriel Rodriguez, both supply scoreless setting in. For Mitch Keller, he gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. From there, you had Yudo Mets with the Yohan Ramirez, Mason Montgomery combined for 2 shutout innings. Gregory Soto, he was able to land a scoreless inning as well as for the Blue Jays. 1 of 12 with men in scoring position. 10 men left on base, so completely stonewalled for runs. And the Dodgers, they do stonewall the Milwaukee Brewers. 5-1, they get the job done. Yoshinobu Yamamoto was tremendous in this one. 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. Will Klein, Tanner Scott, they both give you a scoreless inning as Brandon Sproat continues to struggle. 3 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. Did punch out 7, but had 4 walks along the way, and then Shane Drone, pair of runs given up in his 3 innings of work as he was taken deep by Andy Paz, 11th home run of the season, and then you were able to get 2 shutout innings from Carlos Rodriguez of long relief, but damage by then had been done, and for the Brewers, nothing doing at the plate. A lot doing at the plate for the Arizona Diamondbacks, so 9-1, they're able to take down the Colorado Rockies. Jose Quintana was doing for regression, and boy, did it find him. 6 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings, yet from there, Seth Alberson give up 2 runs in his inning work. Blas Castano, he gives you some long relief. 3 2/3 innings, allows just 1 run. Brandon Bernardino and then the backup catcher Brett Sullivan both land a scoreless inning. Meanwhile, for the Diamondbacks, Ryan Nelson, after a very shaky start to the season, he's rounding into form. 1 run allowed over the course of 8 innings. You had Taylor Clark from there complete the game with a scoreless 9th inning. So Diamondbacks 28-24, and they've been 18-10 at home thus far this season. The Nationals and the Braves entered into Sunday, the top 2 offenses in all of baseball. Wouldn't know by looking at this game. The Nationals win by kind of 2-1, and they're back to 500, by the way. Foster Griffin, he goes 6 shutout innings. Andrew Alvarez, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Gus Farland does allow a run in 2/3 of an inning of work. Richard Lovelady, Orlando Robalta got into a sticky wicket in the 9th inning. The bases were loaded, but Robalta got out of it. And for Martin Perez, he was plenty good enough in this game. Takes a loss, but 1 run allowed in 5 2/3 innings from their DDA Fuentes. And out of the bullpen squirrels, there was a long rain delay when Fuentes was on the mound, so he got taken out early. Ronaldo Lopez gives up a run in 2 innings. Carlos Coiki Carrasco, he gives you a scoreless inning as well, but the Braves, 1 of 9 with men in scoring position, 9 men left on base. That was doomsday for them. And for the Giants, they've had a tough time generating offense all season long. No shortage of it on Sunday. 8-5, they take down the Chicago White Sox. Noah Schultz is starting to see some regression. Young Gun gives up 6 runs over the course of 4 innings, taken deep in this game by Casey Schmidt, 11th home run of the season. Then Rafael Devers, a grand slam, 7th home run of the season off of Grant Taylor. He gives up a pair of runs in 1/3 of an inning. Some of those were inherited runners from Schultz. And then you had Serenity Dominguez, Brandon Eisert. They both give you a scoreless inning. Tyler Davis, he was able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And Robbie Ray was more like Robbie Boo in this game. 4 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, and he was taken deep by Chase Meadroth, 4th home run season. A little bit later on, Matt Gage gives up a solo home run in his inning work to Miguel Vargas, 12th of the season. But Keaton Wynn, 2 shutout innings. Eric Miller, Caleb Killian, they are both able to supply you with a scoreless inning. And being able to supply a lot of scoreless innings, the Athletics, they take down the San Diego Padres, this by a count of 5-2 as for the A's. Luis Medina was the opener, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Jacob Lopez as a bulk guy, pretty solid, 4 2/3 innings. He gives up a run. Justin Cerner, he gives you an inning. He does give up a solo home run to Ty France along the way, 5th home run season, but Mark Leiter Jr., shutout inning. Hogan Ayers, Scott Barlow, they complete the 9th inning scoreless, even though things were a little bit sticky there as the Padres 0 of 8 with men in scoring position as Michael King was not the king on this day. 4 runs allowed and 3 2/3 innings, taken deep by Carlos Cortez, 5th home run of the season. From there, Bradley Rodriguez gives up a run in an inning. Ron Marinaccio, good long relief, 3 shutout innings, and Wandy Peralta, he was able to give you 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless as well. And then you had the Kansas City Royals get on track 8-6. They're able to take down the Seattle Mariners as for Brian Wu, it was more like Brian Boo. 4 runs allowed and 4 2/3 innings. From there, you had Jose Ferrer give you an out of the bullpen scoreless. Cooper Criswell starting to see some regression. He gives up 2 runs in 2 innings. And then you had a not-so-hoppy performance from Alex Hoppy. He gives up 2 runs in his inning work. Seth Lugo gives up 3 runs in 6 1/3 innings, taken deep by Julio Rodriguez, his 9th home run of the season. Daniel Lynch from there, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. John Schreiber, scoreless inning. And Lucas Hurtsich had some massive issues in the 9th inning. He gives up 3 runs in the inning of work, but he's able to complete it to be able to get the job done. And then on Sunday Night Baseball, it was the Angels being able to get the job done over the Walker Texas Rangers. This by a count of 2-1 for the Angels. Reed Detmers, how about what he did? He gave up a solo home run over the course of 8 innings, punched out 14. Jake Berger was able to take him deep. Home run number 10 of the season. That was pretty much his lone error. That was the lone hit that he gave up. Zach Bachman, ironically enough, in the 9th inning, gave up a pair of hits, but he was able to squirt his way out of that. And Mackenzie Gore, he did not get gored. He was coming off of illness, and he looked very good. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Jacob Junis from there, a pair of scoreless innings out of him, but then in the 9th inning, Gavin Collier, he gives up the winning run, being able to walk it out for the Angels. As well, Peraza, he grounds into a fielder's choice. There was a throwing error out there, and that's the way that the Angels get the job done to go to 20-34. We'll certainly touch upon some of their trends in the next segment, along with those of the Rangers, because they do have a lot of interesting ones. But if you're looking league-wide at what we're getting in baseball right now, last 7 days, it has been a very underwhelming stretch. 53 unders, 38 overs, along with 2 pushes along the way. Meanwhile, favorites on the money line hitting only above 54.5%, 48-40 on the money line. And among those 48 favorites that won outright, 17 failed to cover the run line. Overall for the season, favorites are hitting at 55.5% on the money line, 427 and 342. And out of those favorites, 94 have failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the over rate is now less than 50%. I think that this is the first time all season that it has been. 383 overs, 386 unders, and if math serves me correct, 21 pushes along the way. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do take a look at a lot of the trends that we're getting with a lot of these individual teams, pitchers, and so much more across this great game of baseball. Right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Hoops Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We're going guest-free today because I do think that this is a great time to be able to take a look at some of the trends that we're getting in terms of Major League Baseball. I look at the overall league-wide trends and the past 7 days every day on this podcast, but now we've got a big enough sample size, 50-plus games for all these teams, where we can make a little bit of something about some of these top-over teams, some of these top-under teams, what we're all seeing in the landscape. If we're able to get the information, I don't know if I will or not, but if I can, I will get you a little bit of pitcher information at the back half of this segment as well. But that said, let's take a look at what we have been getting in baseball right now. Obviously, in terms of the win-loss record, the Rays and the Braves have been your most dominant teams, and no shocker, they've been able to make you quite a bit of money this year. If you bet the money line on every game for the Atlanta Braves, you're up $954 out of all teams in the National League. The only team that's been more profitable is the Cardinals. They're 29-22. You're up over $1,100 if you bet the money line for $100 in every one of their games right now, just because you're getting those plus prices with the St. Louis Cardinals, getting a few fewer of those with the Atlanta Braves, but they certainly have been able to do a great job on that front. If you're looking for teams that have lit your money on fire, a lot of these should come as no shockers whatsoever. These are the disappointing teams in all of baseball. Detroit Tigers, dead second last. If you bet the money line in every one of their games, you're right now down $1,531 on $100 bets in every one of them, and it's especially bad on the road. You're down $1,300 just in their road games alone on $100 bets in every single one of their games, so that's been all sorts of brutal, to say the least. In the American League, your most profitable team has been the Tampa Bay Rays, up $1,520 if you took the money line in every one of their games. And they've been really really good in the role of a favorite. Now, some of these are chalkier prices, but as a favorite, they are 21-6 on the money line, so they have very much been able to get the job done there. And then if you're looking at other teams that have been profitable outside of the teams with obviously the very good records, how about the Washington Nationals? You're up $892 on money line bets. If you bet $100 on the money line every single time, they've been 25-25 straight up as an underdog, 1-1 as a favorite, so they've been able to give you a lot of good plus money wins, so they've been able to do a rock solid job on that front. You're honestly not down as far as you'd think on one of the worst teams in all of baseball with the Colorado Rockies. While you're 20-34 straight up against them, you're only down $178 on the money line. That's pretty much a cost of juice right there because, well, with the Rockies, they have not been a favorite in any game thus far this season, so you're getting underdog prices in all of their games thus far this season, and that's almost the same amount of money that you're at with the LA Dodgers. Even though the Dodgers are 33-20 thus far this season, you'd be down $164 taking the money line in every single one of their games because they've been a favorite / a pick-em in pretty much every single game that they have played thus far this season. That's a big reason why I always say that you're still betting numbers, you're not just betting teams, even in a money line sport like baseball. Like the New York Yankees, they've been your second best team in the American League right now. You're down $147 taking the money line in every single one of their games because you're going to be laying a lot of big prices on the money line with them. And well, at the very least, you're not the Boston Red Sox. If you bet the money line on them in every single game, you're down $1,106 because they've been a favorite in a lot of these games, and they have been 15-19 on the money line as a favorite. That is absolutely going to light your money on fire. Same goes for the Royals. They've been 10-15 on the money line as a favorite thus far this season. You're down overall $1,136 if you've been taking their money line prices in every single game this season. And I get this information, by the way, via OddsShark, so I do want to be transparent there, so that way you guys know that I am citing my source there, but and those are a few very interesting teams. And if you're looking for your most profitable road team, it is the Washington Nationals. You're actually down $509 if you're betting the money line for $100 in every one of their games at home. You're up $1,401 betting the money line every single time they've been on the road this far this season. So that one I thought was very intriguing. And your most profitable money line team when they bet at home this far this season, that'd be the Rays. You're up $1,100 if you're betting the money line in every single one of their games this far this season. So you've been able to get a lot going there. And if you're looking at teams that just have been able to cash on the money line as an underdog thus far this season, obviously the Tampa Bay Rays, who I just mentioned, they have been one of their best teams thus far, but just in terms of straight up win percentage as a underdog this year, outside the LA Dodgers, because I think the Dodgers were an underdog at one game and they won that one game, and then you got the Atlanta Braves at 8-3 straight up on the money line as an underdog. The Rays are 14-9. The Cleveland Guardians are 16-11 as a money line underdog. The San Diego Padres, who you're up over $500 if you bet them on the money line in every single game this far this season, 15-11 on the money line as an underdog. And then you've had the Pittsburgh Pirates be 11-9 as a money line underdog as well. And worst record as a favorite thus far this season shouldn't come as too much of a surprise outside the White Sox. White Sox are 2-5 on the money line as a favorite, very small sample size. Houston Astros 6-14 on the money line as a favorite. Mets are 17-24 on the money line as a favorite. The Royals are 11-18 on the money line as a favorite as well. Then if you're looking at some of the biggest over and under trends, I think many of you can deduce who the top over team in all of baseball has been. Washington Nationals, 33, 18, and 3 to the over. So 33 overs, 18 unders, and 3 pushes along the way. Cincinnati Reds have actually been number 2. A lot of this is because their bullpen was really good to start the season, and it has toilet bowled ever since then. 32 overs, 19 unders, and a push as far as the season, so that's been an issue. The Miami Marlins, just with how low their totals are, especially at home, because their home ballpark has traditionally been a pitcher-friendly ballpark, and we've seen it the last few seasons where they become an over team as a result of things not being as pitcher-friendly as a lot of people expect. 32 overs, 20 unders, and 2 pushes thus far this season. White Sox, 31 overs, 20 unders, and a push along the way as well. Your best under team in all of baseball, by the way. Walker, Texas Rangers, mainly because they are not scoring at home. Arlington is suppressing offense much more than what a lot of people would believe. 19 overs, 28 unders, and 4 pushes. That was going into Sunday Night Baseball, by the way, but the next best under team, that'd be the New York Mets. 21 overs, 28 unders, and 4 pushes. For obvious reasons, they have not been a great team in terms of being able to slide the boom, but a few surprising teams. The LA Dodgers have been a good under team. 23 overs to 30 unders. While the Dodgers obviously have a solid offense, they're still in the top 5 in terms of run creation. They've actually given up the fewest runs of any team in all baseball this far this season, and The Yankees have been a good under team. 22 overs, 28 unders, and 3 pushes. We know that they're a little bit of an all-or-nothing team, and they've had one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball thus far this season. Another team that's been good to the under. This one should not come as a surprise. San Diego Padres, they've had some struggling offense. They've had some good pitching, 22 overs, 29 unders, and a push along the way. And in terms of the Texas Rangers, I mentioned the fact that Arlington is really suppressing offense. If you look at just their home games, at their home games alone, 4 overs, 16 unders, and a push, an 80% hit rate to the under. That is the biggest home and road split that you have found in baseball thus far this season. Braves have also been a really good under team at home along the Boston Red Sox. Red Sox are not supplying any offense at home right now for the Red Sox. 7 overs, 17 unders, and a push at Fenway. 7 overs, 18 unders, and 2 pushes at home for the Braves. They have been a really nice lightning rod team to the over away from home, but at home, not so much. And then your best home team to the over, Washington Nationals. 17 overs, 7 unders, and 2 pushes. They've been hitting everywhere. The Astros have had some big home and road splits as well. At home, 16 overs, 9 unders, and a push. And for the Cincinnati Reds in Great American Small Park, this one should come as no surprise. 18 overs and 8 unders. And Sacramento, we all know about that ballpark. 13 overs, 8 unders, and a push. And then if you look at the road trends, the Miami Marlins, 15 overs, 4 unders, and 2 pushes. They have really gotten it going away from home. That's a 79% hit rate to the over away from home. No other team above 65.4%, with that being the Braves. 17 overs, 9 unders, and a push away from home. On the road, the Yankees have been your best under team. They do have big home and road splits with regards to their offense, as 8 overs, 17 unders, and 2 pushes away from home. Mets, shock, surprise, 9 overs, 19 unders, and a push when they've been away from home. And the Royals, we know that they have been much better at Kauffman Stadium with their offense rather than away from home. 8 overs and 16 unders away from home. That same goes for Sacramento. Sacramento really inflates offense, so they're 11 overs, 19 unders, and a push when they've been away from home thus far this season. And I want to point this out as well. Some of these teams have been really good on the run line thus far. Obviously, the teams with the best record have been, but how about the Washington Nationals? If you've been able to take a run off with them right now, they're 34-20 on the run line right now. So they've been one of those teams that has been at or below 500. That's been really good on the run line. White Sox, same thing, 30-22 on the run line. And then there are a few favorites that they've been able to win a lot of games straight up, but maybe they haven't been the best on the run line. Chicago Cubs being the main one, 21-32 on the run line thus far this season. We've also had some struggles on the run line. When it comes to the New York Yankees, there's 26-27 in terms of being able to cover a run half. Same goes for the LA Dodgers, 27-26 on the run line as well. So you want to be noting that. And then in terms of a little bit of pitcher information as well, I'm only going to go through a few guys because we are still, in my opinion, the small sample size that we have are on these starting pitchers because it is a little bit tougher to gauge with only about 10 or so starts for these guys. But if you're looking at your most profitable pitchers in all of baseball right now, obviously this is going to vary as the season goes along, but your most profitable pitcher, Davis Martin, if you bet him in all 10 of his starts as far this season, you're up $954, and you're going to notice that a lot of the most profitable pitchers, a lot of them are not your ace guys. Out of the top 10 guys on this list, I would say your biggest ace guy is probably Parker Messick. You've been up $597 if you bet $100 on the money line in terms of every one of his starts as far this season. But then number 2, Foster Griffin, up $745 if you bet $100 on the money line in all 11 of his starts. As a matter of fact, in the top 7, you've got 3 Guardians. Messick, who I mentioned before, Joey Cantillo, you're up $680 betting the money line in all of his starts, 11 starts in total. Gavin Williams, plus $558 on the money line in terms of his starts for the Guardians. It's very all or nothing because Slade Sassoni has been a not so profitable pitcher, but Zach Wheeler, since he's come back, you're up $509 betting the money line in all 6 of his starts this far this season. And then one surprise, because the Astros have been laying your money on fire, Spencer Arrighetti has been the bright spot for the team. You're up $516 betting the money line in all 6 of his starts. And then another surprise, Tomoyuki Sugano. If you bet the money line in all of his starts, 10 in total, up $535, even though he's a pitcher that hasn't necessarily won a ton of his starts, you're getting such big plus prices. He's been rock solid. And then if you look at your least profitable pitchers, Chris Paddock, ladies and gentlemen. If you bet him in all 8 of his starts as far this season, that doesn't include the bulk appearances, and I believe that he lost every one of those as well, down $800 as far this season. Captain Jack Flaherty, a part of that just terrible Tigers team, down $763 if you bet the money line for $100 in all 11 of his starts. The Wizard of Oz, Shane Baz, 10 starts for him, down $661 on money line bets of $100. Simeon Woods Richardson, down $660 on his 9 starts. Mike Burrows of the Houston Astros, down $572 on the money line in his 10 starts. And then if you're looking for a little bit of a surprising guy, Noah McQueen. He has been solid thus far this season, but down $481 if you bet the money line for $100 in all 10 of his starts this far this season. And Shota Imanaga as well, down $396 on the money line if you bet him in his 11 starts thus far this season. So I thought it was fun to be able to take a look at some of these trends, some of what has stood out thus far this season. So hopefully this was useful for you. No guest segment, but I thought that this was fun. And coming next, how about if we do get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. I think this time of year, it's always good to do a little bit of an inventory check, take a look at some of the teams that are trending, some of what we're seeing in terms of the overs and unders, and I thought that this was a good day to be able to do so because a lot of people view Memorial Day as that first real landmarker in college basketball where you get the sense of what these teams really are, so glad I was able to do that today. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We're going to be going in Los exhortation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, the Interleague games, and we've got two of them. Those will be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Let's get things started. This is 901, 902 on the card. The Cardinals are going to be on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. The Miz, Jacob Misiorowski, is on the bump for the Brewers, and Matthew Liberatore goes for the Cardinals. Cardinals are an underdog between plus 170 to plus 185. Meanwhile, minus 210 to minus 220 is that number on Milwaukee. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And for the Brewer Crew on the money line, I set this at a minus 187. If you're looking to lay run half right now with the Brewers, you'll find that between even money plus 105 is what I'm seeing as well, and I'm going to be looking for more of a plus 185 or greater with the Cardinals. Right now I'm seeing plus 184. I think that when it's all said and done, when we get the dime lines, especially South Point out here in lovely Las Vegas, I should be able to get that plus 187 that I'm looking for Matthew Liberatore. Certainly has not lit the world on fire or anything like that. He's been a little bit more shaky with his command than he was a season ago, but I do think that he's going to round into a little bit of better form. 570 ERA, 485 fielding dependent. Last year was giving up about 2.4 walks per 9 innings. That's gone to 3.5 thus far this season, but you've got a guy in Misiorowski that I recognize. He has been absolutely magnificent thus far this season. He's on an absolute tear. He has given up 0 earned runs over the course of his last 4 starts. Do you think that there might be a little bit of regression here? He's gotten his walks way down. 2.8 walks per 9 innings, at 13.9 punch-outs per 9 innings. It has been all magnificent, but now you do have a Cardinals team that is going to be providing a rested bullpen, so I think that is going to be helping out their cause because they had the rain out on Sunday, so I do think that positively helps them out. They weren't having to have like inclement travel or anything like that with the game being postponed so early, and you've got a bunch of guys like Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien there starting to find it in a bullpen that has been in the bottom 10 in terms of ERA. Justin Brule, Ryan Stanek, these have been guys that have been providing north of 5 ERA, but one of those struggling guys in Matt Savanson they sent down to the minor league level, so that's going to help them out. And for the Cardinals, they have been a top 10 team in terms of run creation. Jordan Walker has been able to give you 15 home runs. He's hitting at 300. You've got someone like Ivan Herrera has been able to give you a 390 on base. JJ Weatherhold's only getting a 237 with the average, but 9 home runs, 355 on base. Alec Burleson, 365 on base. So a lot of guys aside from like Victor Scott and the 8 and 9 hitters have been able to move the line, and for the Brewers, this is a team that is all about that small ball. For the Brewers, they just continue to find a way to be able to manufacture runs because right now, in terms of run creation, they're a top 5 team in all of baseball, averaging over 5 runs per game at home, despite the fact that they are a bottom 3 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. As a matter of fact, the man that leads the way is Bryce Terang with 7. Now, obviously, getting back a trio of guys, Andrew Vaughn, Christian Yelich, and Jackson Trio, that's going to be able to help out the cause, in my opinion, very, very soon. But I mean, still, you've got so many guys that they do find a way on with Terang. He's been able to give you 400 on base. William Contreras is hitting about a 300 for this unit. Garrett Mitchell has been able to give you 350 on base. Jake Bauer at 355 on base. And for the Brewers, it has been a team that has had a lot of good, reliable bullpen pieces. You've had the likes of D.L. Turnip, Hall, Grant Anderson be able to give you a sub-3 ERA. I've been really liking what I've been seeing out of Chad Patrick since he's joined the bullpen as well. But you do have Trevor McGill. Ebner Uribe has been a little bit shaky to start the season. Both of these guys over a 4 ERA, and I do think that this this Cardinals lineup. Can get to Mizorowski a little bit. I think the Liberatore is going to continue to struggle a little bit, so did set my total at 7.7. I see a little bit of regression here for Mizorowski and company, so like the over, and with the Cardinals, plus 187 or better, do like that money line. 903, 904 on the card. It's the Reds. Yes, we're on at Cincinnati. They're on the road. They're facing off against the New York Mets. Nolan McLean is on the bump for the Mets, and Nick Lodolo is on the bump for the Reds. Total on this game is 7.5, over and under, both at minus 110, with the Mets minus 153 to minus 166. That's the number on them, and between plus 135 to seeing as high as a plus 145. That's your number on the Reds, and I'm willing to take a shot here on the Reds on the money line. I needed at least a plus 143 to be able to do so. Now, I really like what Nolan McLean brings to the table. He's been struggling a little bit in his last few starts, but you're going to find this out of young starters with McLean. He probably is feeling like the weight of the world is on his shoulders because the Mets have not given him too much run support all season long. 357 ERA, 319 fielding dependent. Only 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 7.7 strikeouts per 9, but has been allowing a little bit more general contact here over his last few starts. Says given up 12 runs, 9 of which were earned in his last few starts. So that's been a little bit of an issue, though much of his struggles have come away from him. So that's very much noted with Citi Field. A little bit more of a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Nick Lodolo, he just came off the injury list for 3 starts. It's been a rough go of it for him. 7.20 ERA. Last year he was so much better with a 3.33 ERA. He was giving up only 1.8 walks per 9 innings. That's up to 5.4 here in his 3 starts thus far this season. I do think that he's going to find it a little bit more. I mean, he didn't have like any sort of a spring training whatsoever, so he's trying to learn it on the fly. Now that he's got 3 starts under his belt, and now that he gets to go up against a New York Mets team that has been in the bottom 8 in terms of run creation, I do think that he's going to be able to find it a little bit more. As for the Mets, you're starting to get a little bit more out of this lineup. Brett Beatty, Carson Benjay, they're in between about a 236 to a 246, but outside of AJ Ewan along with Juan Soto, these are like the lone 2 guys on the roster that are really giving you a batting average above a 250. Now you are getting about a 337 on base out of MJ Melendez, but you're really not getting a lot of boom out of these guys either. It's why they're leaving so many men on base. You saw yesterday with the 10 men left on base. Soto's been able to give you 10 home runs. Nobody else has more than 6 home runs on the roster. That'd be Mark Vientos. You've got Luis Rivera on the injury list. The catcher spot has been highly ineffective. Marcus Semien is a waste of money. Bo Bichette is a waste of money. And for the Mets, they actually do have a really nice bullpen. This has been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen here right now. Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, these guys have been very much underwhelming to say the least, but I mean, yeah, DFA Craig Kimbrell, that's a good thing in and of itself. You've got likes of Oscar Brisbane, Austin Warren, along with Brooks Raley, who have been able to do a nice job being able to supply you with a sub-3 ERA. You've even been able to have some of these mix and match guys be able to do an okay job as well, so that's been able to help out. Tobias Myers is a relatively good long guy, and then on the other end, for the Reds, they were number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA through the first month of the season. Currently, they are in the bottom 8, so things have really toilet bowled there with Tony Santillan now supplying over a 5 ERA. You still do have quite a few, shall we say, effective arms out there in the bullpen, though. I like what I've seen out of Pierce Johnson, Samuel. These guys give you a sub-340 ERA. Brocken Rolberg is in that neighborhood as well. Graham Ashcraft has not been as effective recently, but still has been relatively okay for the season. And for the Reds, they've really been relying upon their main 2 guys, Ellie De La Cruz and Cousin Sal Stewart. 12 home runs apiece, about a 350 to a 355 on base apiece, but they're starting to get a little bit more out of someone like Spencer's here. 7 home runs, hitting at 270. Nathaniel Lowe has been able to about a 270. 8 home runs at a small sample size. JJ Bleday and Blake Dunn have been pretty solid. So I do think that for the Reds, they are going to be able to get to McLean a little bit here. I do think that this is going to be a low-scoring game. I set my total 7.3. I'm banking on positivity from Lodolo, so I'm in on the under end at a plus 143 or better. I do like the Reds here on the money line. 9-5, 9-6 on the card. It's the Diamondbacks. They're going to be on the road against the San Francisco Giants as Landon Roop goes for the Yankees and Merrill Kelly goes for Arizona. 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 110 to a minus 115. Over is minus 105 to a minus 110 with the Giants. Minus 140 to minus 145 is that number there. Plus 118 to a plus 125 is your number on Arizona. So the Giants at a minus 144. I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 143 on the money line. I have just been really impressed by what I've seen out of Landon Roop this season. I feel like he's pitched even better than the 327 ERA would indicate. 260 fielding dependent. In 55 innings, he's allowed just 2 home runs, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he certainly has done his job. It's been a case where the Giants have been dead last in terms of run creation. That has really been hurting him, but That said, for Merrill Kelly, does feel like he's starting to round in a little bit of better form. The overall season numbers are pretty atrocious. 5.71 ERA, 5.63 fielding dependent, 1.8 home runs, 4 walks allowed per 9 innings, so just 6 punch-outs per 9, but he's now given up a combined 5 earned runs over the course of his last 3 starts at spanning 22 innings, so he's been able to give you some good length, and he's backed up by a league average bullpen with the Arizona Diamondbacks. You've had Juan Murillo do a relatively solid job with a sub-3 ERA. You've been able to have some of these other guys be able to step up. They pick up Jonathan Loaisiga in the offseason, sub 350 there. I still don't trust in Paul Sewald at the closer spot, but Ryan Thompson and company, they've been able to do a pretty solid job. And for the Diamondbacks, they do seem to be finding their swagger a little bit more on offense. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte had a rough start to the season, but now he's hitting above a 260 once again. Lourdes Gurriel has not really found the deep ball quite yet, but he just came off the injury list. He should be able to round into a little bit of better form. Catcher spot has been a little bit tough with Gabriel Moreno, but how about Nolan Arenado? He's been able to give you 7 home runs, about a 350 on base. Corbin Carroll, to give you about a 4 on base. Down a little bit with the power, but he's moving the line. On the other end, you've got a bunch in the San Francisco Giants that they're starting to get a little bit more out of Willie Adames along with Rafael Devers, but obviously it's been a big giant waste of money. You've got a pair of guys with 7 home runs apiece. Both of these guys have been giving you less than a 300 on base, so you're going to need to get much more there, but and still you've got Casey Schmidt, who's been able to give you 11 home runs. He's up to about a 340 on base. Luis Rise is hitting a 300. You've had Daniel Susic, small sample size at the catcher spot, but he's been able to find a way on. You need more of Matt Chapman. He has just been a disaster thus far this season, but it does feel like they're starting to find it a little bit more. And for the Giants, this is a bullpen that is in the top 10 in terms of ERA. Likes of Yoel Piguero, Caleb Killian, Keaton Wynn, even throw in there someone like a Matt Gage. These guys have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Now, you do have a little bit of diciness with someone like a JT Brubaker, but I do think that the Giants do a nice job getting to Kelly, and I do think that this is going to be a lower scoring game with the way the Roop is rolling. So, semi-total 7.1, like the 7 after the under, 1 to lay up to minus 143 on that Giants money line. 9-7-9-08 on the card. It's the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Carmen Milzinski is on the bump for the Buccos, and Ben Brown goes for the Cubs. Cubs are a slim favorite here, anywhere between minus 106 to a minus 115. Meanwhile, between minus 104 to a minus 108, that's your number on Pittsburgh with a total of 8. The under is minus 1 down to a minus 115. Over is minus 105 to a minus 110. And for the Cubs, I set their money line price at a minus 117. So I'm going to be willing to lay it, even though it's been a really, really rough run for them. I believe they have now lost 8 straight games. So they have not won a game in over a week, but that said, the offense was able to come alive a little bit more yesterday, and this continues to be a top 10 team in terms of run creation. I like what I've seen out of Michael Conforto with a 380 on base, and you just take a look at the lineup in general. The only guy that was not a pinch runner that saw an actual at-bat that was below I believe it was 340 with their on-base percentage, that'd be Pico Armstrong and Moises Ballesteros. So, I mean, they do have a lot of guys that they find a way to move line. Maybe not that one true boom guy, as Ian Happ has been your main home run hitter with about 10 home runs, and he's been out of the lineup the last few days, but you have to feel like these guys, like a Michael Busch, like I say, Suzuki, going to be able to get it going a little bit more. Suzuki was pretty solid off the injury list to start with. He's been a little bit more shaky here in the last few weeks, and for the Cubs, they've been able to get a lot of production out of Ben Brown. Now, he hasn't necessarily been fully stretched out. I believe that he's went 4 innings or fewer in pretty much all of his appearances, aside from maybe 1 this far this season, but I mean, he's been solid. He's been able to give you a 209 ERA. His walks per 9 innings is down below 3. He's getting still about 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Not giving up the deep ball. Only 1 home run given up in 38 2/3 innings this far this season. Now, with the Cubs, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries in the bullpen, but the guys who've been able to stay healthy, Jacob Webb, Hobie Milner, Ryan Rolson, these are guys give you a 360 ERA or better. You're getting Caleb Theobar off the injured list. Daniel Palencia has been pretty solid as well. Flip side for the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's been a little bit hit or miss with regards to this bullpen over the last few weeks. Dennis Santana was one of the better relievers in all baseball last season. He has seen his ERA go above a 5, so that's been an issue. You don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez has been okay. 360 ERA. Mason Montgomery has been able to do his job as well, and I like what I've seen out of Evan Sisk as well, but a little bit hit or miss there. Now for the Pirates, this is a top 5 team in terms of run creation and a top 3 team specifically at home. You've got Oneil Cruz, Brandon Lau getting loud for a combined 24 home runs, both hitting between a 250 to 260, even though Cruz doesn't draw a lot of walks, but do have quite a few guys that they're not necessarily power hitters, but they find a way to move the line. Ryan O'Hearn, Spencer Horwitz, Brian Reynolds between a 365 to about a 385 with regards to on base. The catcher spot needs a little bit of work, and these, shall we say, mix and match guys guys, Jared Trollo, Nick Yorkie and company, they've been a little bit of an issue, but I do think that for the Cubs, they start to find it here a little bit more. It's been a rough go of it for them, and I do think that they get to a guy in Carmen Bolshinski who I feel like he has pitched much better than what the ERA would indicate. He's been one of the more unlucky guys in baseball this season, as he's been able to give you some relatively good swing and miss. Right now for Bolshinski, his strikeouts per 9 rate is right around about 8, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, 396 ERA, 299 fielding dependent, but I do think that the Cubs round into form a little bit more with regards to this offense. I do like the over, so I might tell it at 8.3, and with the Cubs, we'll delay the money line. I set them at a minus 117. 9-9, 9-10 on the card. The Phillies are going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres. Randy Vasquez goes for the Pods, and Jesus Luzardo is on the bum for the Phillies, and the Phillies do find themselves as a bit of a favorite here, minus 121 to a minus 132. Meanwhile, plus 110, plus 112 is that number on San Diego. 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 120, and the over is even, and I do like the under. I did set my total at a 7.2. Jesus Luzardo, in my opinion, has pitched much better than that ERA would indicate, a 4.85 ERA, but closer to a 2.86 fielding dependent. Like, it's been absolutely mind-boggling to see the ERA not match up with the fielding dependent really over the last 2 years, from 10.7 strikeouts, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, right around about 2.5 walks per 9 as well. Meanwhile, Randy Vasquez has had a career year, 2.96 ERA. Strikeout stuff is starting to go back down, about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 0.8 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings, and it has been a Padres team that, even though they've been able to get a lot of wins, they've been lacking a lot of run production at home, about 3.75 runs per game at home. That's actually fourth worst in all baseball, and Fernando Tatis Jr. right now stuck on 0 home runs. That's been a wonder, to say the least. You're starting to get a little bit more out of Gavin Sheets. Holy Sheets, he has been able to give you 9 home runs, an on-base percentage that's now above a 330, but you still have a lot of other guys outside of Tatis that have been a big disappointment. Jackson Merrill, Ramon Laureano, Nick Castellanos, all these guys giving you less than a 300 on base. All these guys hitting a 215 or lower. Manny Machado's hitting a $175, starting to give you a little bit more power, but need more out of him. Miguel Andujar has been able to about a 280, and then for the Philadelphia Phillies, this is a unit that has always been better with their offense when they've been at home rather than away from home. Currently, they're averaging less than 4 runs per game away from home, and it's been Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber really just supplying the boom for the team. Outside those two guys, you're not getting a ton. The likes of Trey Turner, Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, all these guys are hitting for less than a 300 on base, not a lot of power, 240 or less out of all of them. Adolis Garcia continuing to struggle, no surprise there. Armando Sosa not giving much out of the outfield. For Schwarber, 20 home runs, about a 350 on base, closer to a 360 on base out of Harper, so you're very reliant upon those guys. And for the Padres, they've got the far better bullpen here. They're a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Jason Adam, along with Mason Miller, has been an incredible 1-2 punch in the 8th and 9th inning, but if Jeremiah Estrada back down below a 350 ERA, you've been able to get a lot of production out of the mix and match guys like Yuki Matsui and Wandy Peralta. It's been a little bit rough for Audrey Motorhome, but he seems to be running into form as well. And then for the Phillies, you've got Brad Keller, along with Jose Alvarado, posting up over a 375 ERA. Ryan Kirker and Yohan Duran, they've been solid at the back half of games, but these guys like Tanner Banks, Jonathan Bolin, they just haven't been able to give you too much of anything whatsoever. So even though I think that Luzardo gives you a good start, I do think that the Padres do just enough to be able to get the job done in a low-scoring game. Set by total 7.2, so I do like the Padres on the money line, made them the minus 114 favorite, and like this 7.5 to the under. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. The Rockies are going to be on the road against the Dodgers, as Emmett Sheehan is on the bump for the Dodgers and Kyle Freeland is on the bump for the Rockies, and the Rockies are a Mondo-sized underdog here. You're going to be getting them between plus 240 to plus 245. Meanwhile, you've got anywhere between minus 280 to minus $3 on the Dodgers. Total is 8.5 to 9. On the 8.5, over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 9, under is minus 120. The over is even. If you're looking to lay run half with the Dodgers, that's minus 130 to minus 140, and I'm willing to lay the minus 130 run line. I wouldn't want to go any further. I set this at a minus 131, but I'm going to be willing to lay that run line. Should be Kyle Freeland here. They might utilize an opener, so if you see some like random bullpen piece, that's why. But that's it for Kyle Freeland. It's been an almighty struggle for him this far this season. How about a 7.04 ERA, fielding dependent? That's more in that neighborhood, about a 5.72, but 2.1 home runs, 3.3 walks per 9 innings. And for Freeland, I just don't know when we're going to see some positivity on the batting average on balls in play. Meanwhile, for Emmett Sheehan, he's had a little bit of struggle as well. 4.93 ERA, he has given up 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. Good swing and miss though. He's been able to give you 10.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. And additionally, you look at the career numbers for Emmett Sheehan. Big-time home and road splits. At home throughout his career, 2.70 ERA. At home, he gives up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. Away from home, closer to about 1.7 to 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. 5.92 ERA. And for the Rockies, the offense has been a bottom 7 unit with regards to run creation away from home. They always have big-time home and road splits, but they're much more respectable than they have been in the past. You've got someone like Jake McCarthy hitting at 275, TJ Romfield hitting at 285. You've had a pair of guys, Hunter Goodman along, Mickey Moniak, be able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, so Moniak probably going to be out once again. We did not see him in that series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Still need more out of the bottom guys, so like Brett Sullivan, Edouard Julien, Kyle Karros, Thompson, these guys who have been hitting a 220 or lower. On the other end for the LA Dodgers, they've actually been significantly worse with their offense when they've been at home rather than away from home. They lead the league with about 6.1 runs per game away from home compared to at home. More like 4.2 runs per game. I do think that normalizes and irons out a little bit for the Dodgers. You've been able to get good production out of Shohei Ohtani in terms of moving line down with regards to home run power, but he continues to give you that 400 on base. And then you've been able to have Andy Paz be able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. He's been hitting above a 275. You've been able to get Max Muncy going for a double-figure amount of bombs as well. So these guys have been solid while you've had Mookie Betts just continue to struggle after he had a rough 2025 as well. But it does feel like Kyle Tucker, Freddie Freeman, these are guys, they're starting to wake up. These two guys, along with Teoscar Hernandez, all now give you at least a 350 on base. And for the Dodgers, they've actually allowed the fewest runs of any team in all of baseball because they're bullpen. Right now, number one in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, I think that might regress a little bit with Jack Dreher, Edwin Diaz being on the injury list, but Tanner Scott has been one of the better relievers in all of baseball. Kyle Hurt, Will Klein, these guys are giving you a sub-3 ERA, but I do think that the Dodgers slug their way to victory, and for the Rockies, they have really seen a lot of regression with regards to the bullpen as well. They're now a bottom 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Shockingly, Antonio Sensatella has been great out of this bullpen. He's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA, and then you have like Seth Alverson, Jaden Hill, Brendan Bernardino between about a 3.75 to a 4.50 ERA. Juan Mejia has been okay as well, but Jimmy Urget, Victor Vodnik going the injury list, that's a little bit of a killer. So my total 9.3, like the over, and for the Dodgers, willing to lay the run line up to a minus 130. 913, 914 on the card. The Rays are going to be on the road against the Orioles, as it is old to be determined on the bump for the Orioles, looking like Kyle Baradish, and Shane McClanahan goes for the Rays. The Rays do find themselves as a favorite, anywhere between minus 125 to a minus 135. We're seeing some minus 120s out there earlier as well. Meanwhile, between plus 110 to a plus 115, that number on the Orioles, 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8, under is minus 120, and the over is even on the 7.5. Over is minus 120, under is even, and set the Rays at a minus 129, up to a minus 128. I'm willing to lay it with the Rays on the money line. It is a Rays group that has been just really good in terms of being able to do the little things. They've had great starting pitching, and Shane McClanahan has been a big reason why. He was off the last 2 seasons due to injury, and he has come back, and he's given up just 0.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 282 ERA, 271 field independent. He's been great, and assuming that this is going to be Kyle Bradish here for the Orioles, he's been able to do a nice job in terms of getting swings and misses, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but the reason why he's got a 4.13 ERA and a fielding independent to boot is that he's been giving up 4.8 walks per 9 innings, and he is backed up by an Orioles bullpen that, for one, they're coming off of having to play 2 on Sunday, so that's a little bit of an issue in and of itself. And then additionally, with the Orioles, the bullpen just hasn't, frankly, been that good this far this season. I mean, they were hoping for Trevor Rogers, and the fact that he's been ineffective has caused them to really utilize a lot of bullpen pieces. You've got Keegan Aiken, Andrew Kittredge, who spent some time on the injury list. Both of these guys now have over a 5 ERA. Dietrich Hens is starting to regress a little bit. Like Ynier Cano, Uncle Rico Garcia, both of these guys are giving you a sub-3 ERA, but it's been a little bit of a roll of the dice for them. They're in the bottom 8 in terms of bullpen ERA. But the Tampa Bay Rays, they're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but after a really shaky start to the season, a lot of these guys are starting to find it a little bit more. Cole Sulser growing on the injury list hurts, but Kevin Kelly, Brian Baker, these guys are giving you sub 350 ERA. They get Kirk Clevenger off the injury list as well. And for the Rays, this continues to be a top 8 team in terms of run creation away from home. And you've got a lot of mix and match guys like a Nick Fortes, Richie Palacio, sitting in the neighborhood of like a 262, 270. Johnny DeLuca was, but they had him hit the injury list. Cedric Mullins used to give you a little bit more, but Yandy Diaz, along Jonathan Aranda, are giving you over 350 on base with functional power. Junior Caminero, he's been able to give you 13 home runs. He's been able to give you about a 340 plus on base. I do think that the Rays get to Kyle Bradish here and get the job done. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 120 on the Rays money line, and like the over, I did set my total at an 8.2, 915, 916 on the card. It's the Twins. They're going to be on the road facing off against the Chicago White Sox. Anthony Cade says okay to another start, and yes, Zebby Matthews on the bum for Minnesota. Minnesota is a minus 110 to a minus 115 favorite, and between even money to minus 110. That number on the White Sox, 8 to 8.5 is the total. On the 8, over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 8.5, under is minus 120. Over is even. I do like the over. I set my total at an 8.6 as Zebby Matthews has been very solid here in his first few starts for the Minnesota Twins. Keep in mind that last year he was much less than effective if you look at the ERA. Now, he pitched much better than the 5.56 ERA would indicate, 3.79 fielding dependent. He was getting about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he was giving up 1.4 home runs, 2.7 walks per 9 innings, and thus far, 2 runs allowed in 13 innings in his 2 starts. That's very solid, but I do have to fear that there's going to be a little bit of regression with this, and if Zebby Matthews isn't pinpoint, he's backed up by a bullpen that has been in the bottom 3 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. Cody Funderburk has been like the only guy that you can trust, and he's been able to supply you with a sub-3 ERA. Eric Orze has been looking a little bit better recently, but you look at the guys like Yandres Gomez, Anthony Banda, along with Taylor Rogers. These are all guys supplying an ERA well above a 4.50. Simeon Woods Richardson just got demoted to the bullpen as well. He's not been great, to say the least. Cody Lawyerson is currently on the injured list, and it's a Twins group that has been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. You've been able to have someone like an Alec Martin be able to give you about a 400 on base. Trevor Lawrence just below a 400 on base. Obviously, Byron Buxton has been able to supply the 15 plus home runs, has been in and out of the lineup the last few days. They're kicking the tires on Orlando Arcia, see if they've got a little bit of something there. Some of a few guys like Matt Wallner has been out of the fold for a while, James Outman, Victor Carantini heading below 200, but it has been an offense that has been very formidable. Meanwhile, for the Chicago White Sox, a little bit of an all or nothing team. They are a bottom 10 team in terms of overall batting average, but you've got 3 guys that have been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers this far. Mintaka Murakami being the main of them, 17 home runs. It's just a 235, but a 376 on base. Miguel Vargas, 12 home runs, hitting a 244, but 376 on base. Colson Montgomery, 219 average, 318 on base, but 13 home runs, and they're starting to get some of these guys like Tristan Peters, Sam Antonassi in the outfield, hitting above a 255. Everson Piera, when he's been out there, he's been dealing with a little bit of an injury. He's been able to move the line as well. Now for the White Sox, they themselves are a bottom 10 team in terms of opening rate. When you're relying upon the likes of a Jordan Nixon, Sir Anthony Dominguez at the back half of the bullpen, that's not great. And Nix is on the injured list. Tyler Davis has actually been solid in this bullpen. He, Sean Newcomb, Grant Taylor, Brian Hudson, these guys are giving you a sub-310 ERA, but that's Brandon Eisert is a guy that's less than effective. Jordan Leisure is leisurely giving you a 6 ERA. These guys like Oswaldo Beto and company that they've tried as long guys, they have just all been big giant failures, so that's a little bit of an issue for this team. I do think that leaves you with getting quite a few runs in this game, and I did set the White Sox at a minus 112 because I do think that in their friendly confines, they're going to be able to get a little bit of something here out of Anthony Kay, who got a really rough start to the season, but you look at what he's been able to do recently. 2 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts. Not some sort of strikeout artist. He's getting 6.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 427 ERA, and the fielding independent is still 531, so that's a little bit of an issue, but he's out keeping the ball in the yard. He has given up just 2 home runs over the course of his last 5 starts, and I do think that that'll be enough to be able to get the job done. For the White Sox, set them at a minus 112, so I'm willing to lay up to a minus 111 on that money line, and do like the over. 917, 918 on the card. It is the Royals playing goes to the New York Yankees. Michael Wacha, and if he has a bad start for the Royals, it's the dying Pac-Man voice of Michael Waka 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 Waka. Going for the Royals, and Will Warren is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees do find themselves between minus 135 to minus 150 favorites, between plus 115 to plus 140. That number on the Royals, and your total is 9, over and under both at minus 110. I'm going to take a shot here on the over. I did set my total at a 9.1. Will Warren has been much better when he has been away from home rather than home thus far this season. For Will Warren, he has given up 6 home runs in total. His home runs per 9 rate, that's right around about a 1, but all 6 of those home runs have come at home. Away from home, he's given you a sub-250 ERA without a single home run allowed thus far this season. He's been able to, overall, home and road, give you 10.7 strikeouts to 2.2 walks per 9 innings, so you do love to see that. And for Michael Wacha, I do think that he's doing for a little bit of regression with that 270 ERA, currently at 388 fielding dependent. He's giving up only 1 home run per 9 innings, but still not a swing and miss guy. Somebody strikeouts, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, and now faces off against the Yankees lineup that I know that they've been cold over the last week or so. With Aaron Judge, the team really comes and goes with him, but still, they have been a top 5 team in terms of run creation. George White's able to go deep yesterday in the 9th inning, 17th home run of the season for him. Ben Rice has been able to give you 16 bombs, both of these guys over at 375 on base, and then you've got Cody Bellinger at about a 380 on base. You do need to get a little bit more in the infield. Jazz Chisholm back to hitting about a 250. 250, but he hasn't necessarily been able to supply a lot of power. The entire catcher spot, Ryan McMahon, you do need to get more of these guys. And Trent Grisham, he's been a nightmare out there in the outfield thus far this season. But also for the Yankees, this has been a unit that has been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I recognize that David Bednar, Camilo Duvall have not been great, but how about Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hedrick? These are guys give you a sub 325 ERA. Paul Blackburn, Ryan Yarbrough as long guys have been able to do a more than functional job for this unit. And then on the other end of things for the Royals, this has been a team that's been in the bottom 10 in terms of bullpen ERA. Clearly, they've been missing Carlos Aceves this season. Daniel Lynch, Lucas Hursadge, these guys do give you a sub 355 ERA along John Schreiber, but likes of Alex Lang, Steven Cruz and company have been mix and match. And for the Royals, it is a offense that is much better at home rather than away from home. 4.6 runs per game at home, 3.04 away from home. That is dead last in all of baseball by a full half a run away from home. And in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation at home, they really need more out of Salvador Perez along with Vinny Pasquantino. They combined 13 home runs out of these two guys. It's just not enough when neither guys give you over 285 on base. Neither guy sitting above 215. No stolen bases out of these guys, so that's an issue. Bobby Witt Jr., 16 stolen bags, 360 on base, 7 home runs, all of which have come over the last 5 weeks. That's been solved for the team, and got other guys that are moving the line, like Starling Marte has been able to give you about a 350 on base. Lane Thomas only hits a 209, but still 350 on base. Kyle Isabel's been able to hit about a 260. Miguel Garcia has been able to do a perfectly fine job, and with the fences moving in at Kauffman Stadium, I do think that you're going to get some scoring. So, like the over, so my total 9.1, and with the Yankees, set their money line price at a minus 144, one to lay up to a minus 143 with them. 919, 920 on the card. It's the Houston Astros on the road against the Walker Texas Rangers. Coomer Rockers on the bump for the Rangers, and Tatsuya Amai goes for the Astros. Astros are an underdog here of anywhere between plus 110 to a plus 120. Meanwhile, minus 130 to minus 140 is that number on the Rangers. 8.5 is the total. Over is anywhere between minus 110 to a minus 115, minus 105 to minus 110 on that under, and I set the Rangers at a minus 132, mostly seeing like minus 130, and I'm going to lay a minus 130 on this Rangers money line for Imai. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of positivity with him. It's just hard to know when. He was a tremendous pitcher in the Nippon Baseball League out there in Japan, and last start, 3 runs allowed, it looked a little bit better, but he has been all over the place with regards to command. 831 ERA, 661 fielding dependent, 2.1 home runs, 7.3 walks per 9 innings. He is getting the 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, but man, that's all sort of rough to say the least. And then on the other end, you've had Coomer Rocker be very shaky himself, but Coomer Rocker threw incredibly well in that, shall we say, bulk appearance that we saw against the Colorado Rockies. They utilized an opener for him for the first time, 7 2/3 innings, scoreless. Now, he is a guy that has been not necessarily doing the world's greatest job with his own command, 7.4 strikeouts to 4 walks per 9 innings, but just 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. And Coomer Rocker, this is his career numbers, big-time home and road splits. Throughout his career, he's had a 261 ERA at home. He has given up just 0.3 home runs per 9 innings when he has been at home. Well over 2 home runs allowed per 9 innings with a 7.02 ERA away from home. And he gets a face-off against an Astros lineup that has been averaging about 3 runs per game here in the month of May. That is dead last in the American League. And while they did get it going a little bit more against the Chicago Cubs over the weekend, this Cubs team is just looking not great, to say the least. You've got quite a few guys are hitting below a 215 for this team because now you've got Jose Altuve on the injury list. They are dealing with Carlos Correa being out for this season. List goes on and on. So got the likes of Cam Smith, Zach DeZenzo, Zach Cole, Bryce Matthews. They're all hitting at 215 or lower with not a lot of power. Nick Allen in a small sample size will be able to move line, but now you've got Yordan Alvarez out as well. That needs to be taken into account. Christian Walker about a 340 on base, and he's been able to give the team a double-figure amount of homers, up to 14 bombs, but have to be very concerned with Yordan Alvarez out of the fold. And for the Astros, they entered the weekend dead last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen area. You've got so many guys that just have not held up their end of the bargain, and now you've got Bennett Sosa, Long Josh Hader on the injury list. Brian King has been solid. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Stephen Okert more around about a 4, and then you've got the likes of AJ Bluba, Brian Abreu. All these mix and match long guys are providing an ERA above a 5. Aniel De Los Santos more around about a 4.30, and for the Rangers, this team leads the American League in terms of bullpen ERA. They have been passed by the Dodgers in terms of best bullpen ERA overall, and they already with Cole Winn along with Robert Garcia being on the injury list, but likes of Jalen Beeks, Tyler Alexander, Jacob Latz, Jacob Junis, these are guys give you a sub-350 ERA, and for the Rangers, they have been right towards the bottom in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home. They're only getting about 3 runs per game when they are at home, but that said, you've been able to get these guys to move the line a little bit more with Josh Young hitting at 300, Brandon Nimmo right around about a 350 on base. Lack of power for this team. Jake Berger, 9 home runs. That's been leading the way, so you're going to need to get a little bit more there, but Ezekiel Duran is out hitting about a 285. you've been dealing with the injuries to the likes of Corey Seager and company, but a few guys have been able to step up along the way, like Docal's aim Alejandro Azuno, who's been able to give you a 400 on base. So I do think that the Rangers go out there, get the job done, and I do think that Amai and the bullpen continues to struggle. So semi-total at an 8.8. I do like the over, and for the Rangers, I'm willing to lay the money line, set them at a -132. 921, 922 on the card. The Mariners are on the road against the Athletics, as you've got one Mr. Aaron Savali on the bump for the Athletics, and Luis Castillo goes for Seattle. Seattle is a slim favorite here of anywhere between -110 to a -115. Meanwhile, you're getting between even money to -105 on the Athletics. That is a total over and under, both at -110. Made the Athletics a -133 favorite. So I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line with the Athletics. They've gotten good production out of Aaron Savali, which you do have to be concerned that we're going to see a little bit of regression here with them. Right now, 3.32 ERA, but fielding dependent 4.91. He gets fewer than 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's given up 1.6 home runs per 9, but he also gets to go up against a Seattle Mariners team that is averaging fewer than 4 runs per game, so that's been an issue away from home. Overall, they give you 4 runs per game, and with Cal Raleigh out of the fold, they don't necessarily have as much boom as they've had in the past. You've had Luke Raley be able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, and they got things going a little bit more in that series against Kansas City, but keep in mind the fence has moved in out there at Kauffman Stadium. Randy Rosarena has been able to give you about a 385 on base, and Colt Emerson, their young gun, has been able to give you about a 375 on base, but you're not really getting a lot of home run power outside of Raley from anyone other than Julio Rodriguez, who's been able to give you 9 home runs this far this season. J.P. Crawford is hitting right around the middle line of 200. They've had Mitch Garver filling in for Raleigh, and he hasn't been able to give you too much. John Canzone, Colt Young, these guys give you like a 320 on base, but not necessarily a ton of pop there, and Josh Naylor just has not been what they were expecting, hitting about a 246 with 5 home runs. You want a little bit more there. Now, when it comes to Mariners, this bullpen has been exceptional. They've been a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Jose Ferreira, Edward Bizardo, Cooper Criswell, Matt Brash. These guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Now, they do have Andres Munoz, who has struggled to begin the season, but he seems to be rounding back into form as well. And for the Athletics, this is a team that's in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but so you've been able to get some good production out of the likes of Hogan Harris, Joel Kuhnel, even a guy like a Justin Sterner has been able to give you a sub 425 ERA. Throw in there Scott Barlow as well. So these guys have been able to do a pretty solid job. We know that Sacramento very much elevates offense. That's why the Athletics are averaging more than a full run per game more at home rather than away from home. And Shea Langoliers, Shea is banging for 12 home runs this far this season. He's been able to hit above a 300, then have guys like Jacob Wilson, Nick Kurtz hitting right around about a 290. Carlos Cortez continues to give you a 430 on base. Brad Rooker got off to a slow start to the season, but since coming off the injury list, he's been looking a little bit better as well. Now, some of these mix and match guys like Denzel Clark, Lawrence Butler at the bottom of the lineup have not necessarily been amazing, but I do think that they're going to be able to get to Luis Castillo here has been having himself a miserable start to the season, over a 6 ERA, and last year he was posting up an ERA that was darn near 2 points higher away from home rather than at home. This season, 1.4 home runs, 3.5 walks per 9 innings. Now, be mindful, Bryce Miller's probably going to piggyback off of him. He's been good to start the season. He's given up just 2 runs at 11 innings, but I think there's regression with that as well, because he, last season, was a guy that was posting up an ERA well above a 450, and you just take a look at his career home and road splits. 3.26 ERA with 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 473 away from home with just under 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. I did set a lower total here, as I do think that there's a positivity for Luis Castillo, so I might total 9.2 like the under, but in on the Athletics on the money line, set them at a -133, 923, 924 on the card. It is the Nationals. They are going to be on the road against the Guardians, as you've got Tanner Bybee on the bump for the Guardians, and Zach Littell is on the bump for Washington, who's a good-sized underdog, anywhere between +146 to a +156. Meanwhile, you're getting anywhere between -170 to -180 on the Cleveland Guardians. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is -115, under is -105 on the 8.5. Under is -120. Over is even money, and when it comes to the Nationals, I set them at a +194. For the Guardians, you're finding that run line price right around about a +130, even a +135 out there. I'm going to be willing to lay the run line. I think that they do a great job in terms of getting to Zach Littell here, who he's honestly lucky that his ERA is below a 6 right now. He has been rocking an ERA of a 5.83 with a 7.34 fielding dependent, 2.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings with only 4.5 strikeouts per 9. Tanner Bybee's been better recently. He's not going to light the world on fire with this strikeout stuff. 7.8 strikeouts, 3.2 walks per 9 innings, but he's giving up less than a home run per 9 innings. Be mindful, though, he now has to go up against the Washington Nationals team that they are currently number 1 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, between 5.3 to 5.4 runs per game. They are a little bit based around their 2 main guys, in James Wood along C.J. Abrams, both guys over at 380 on base. Both the guys have been able to give you 11-plus home runs, but you're starting to get a little bit more of like so Brady Ellis, Down Lyle, been able to give you 7-plus home runs apiece, and for Lyle, he's been able at about a 265 They're getting a little bit more out of Keibert Ruiz. Doesn't draw any walks whatsoever, but hitting at 250. Luis Garcia is hitting at 260. They're hoping that these guys like Andres Shapiro, Dylan Cruz, young guys that have not developed and have dealt with injuries are going to be able to blossom as well. And for the Nationals, you do have to be mindful how bad this bullpen is. They're back in the bottom 6 with regards to bullpen ERA. Orlando Revolta has actually been relatively solid with a sub-2 ERA thus far, but Mitchell Parker's rocking right around about a 5 ERA. Clayton Beeter just off the injury list. He's been a guy that's been relatively reliable, but who knows how he's going to look coming off the injury list. Gus Farland is over a 350 ERA, and then on the other end, you've got a bunch in the Cleveland Guardians that have honestly been closer to league average with their bullpen. This is a team that typically is like a top 5 bullpen, but Tim Aaron, sub-3 ERA. They're getting Sean Armstrong off the injury list. That should help out. Matt Festa, Hunter Gaddis, these guys are rocking a 450 ERA, but I do think that Gaddis rounds into form, and for the Guardians, they've been much better with their offense this year. They're more of a league average offense with the superstar guys honestly being down. Jose Ramirez, 8 home runs, hitting at 227. Recognize that the on-base percentage is at 347. You expect more there. Reese Hoskins is sitting below 200. Stephen Kwan has been miserable in terms of getting on base. At Kyle Manzardo, less than a 300 on base with 5 home runs, but Anel Martinez is now giving you 9 home runs. Chase Salauter, a 350 on base. Brian Rocchio, a 370 on base. Austin Edges is actually hitting at the catcher spot, so that's been big for this unit, and I do think that Tanner Bybee is always going to be a little bit of a better pitcher at home rather than away from home. We saw his ERA be about 2 points lower at home rather than away from home really over the past 2 seasons, and I do think that the Guardians do a nice job getting to Littell and get the job done here. I'm willing to lay the run line of the Guardians at pretty much anything of plus 105 or better, and like the over, so I tell it at 8.6. Wrap things up with 925, 926. The Marlins are going to be on the road against the Blue Jays as Trey Savage is on the bump for the Jays, and Jansen Junk hopes to not live up to his name for Miami. Miami is a underdog here, plus 140 to plus 150. Meanwhile, minus 160 to minus 170. That's your number on Toronto with a total of 7.5 over and under, both at minus 110, and I do like the over. I did my total at a 7.7. For Jansen Junk, he does a really good job in terms of not hurting himself. He has been able to keep the ball in the yard, and he doesn't give up any walks whatsoever, but he just pitches to an almighty amount of contact, and that's why you'll notice his fielding independent is typically quite a bit lower than his ERA. 5.07 ERA, 4.29 fielding independent, 1.3 home runs, 2.1 walks per 9 innings, but only 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's a Blue Jays team that is number 1 in the big leagues in terms of fewest strikeouts on a per at-bat basis. Now, they've been having a lack of power for this team, as for Vlad Guerrero Jr., stuck on 3 home runs right now. You just expect much more out of him, but he, Ernie Clement, Miles Straw, these are guys hitting above a 275. You've got the young gun and Yohendrick Pinago, who's been hitting above a 300, so you've got plenty of guys that are finding a way on base. Kazuma Okamoto has 10 home runs. He's really been the main boom guy for the team. And Dalton Varsho last year was getting a home run every about 12 or so at bats. Way down with the power this year, but he's been much up with regards to his on-base percentage with about a 340 on base, and the Blue Jays have been much better with their bullpen this year than they were at the beginning part of the season. They were trusting in Jeff Hoffman, Mason Flaherty. These guys were posting up an ERA of a 5+. Now they've been really relying upon 3 main guys. Brandon Fisher, Louis Varland, along with Tyler Rogers. All these guys have been able to give you a sub-275 ERA. They've been huge. Tommy Nance has been a little bit up and down for the team, and Uriel Rodriguez has just been a disaster coming off the injury list. But that said, you got a Marlins team that they themselves don't necessarily provide a lot of power. They're a bottom 16 in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Now, with the Marlins, they're another team that does a great job moving the line. You've got Liam X, who's done a great job with his power. 275 average, 11 home runs. Nobody else has more than 6 home runs, with that being Xavier Edwards. He, Otto Lopez are both hitting above a 300. You've had Javier Sanja do a nice job moving the line, hitting about a 260, but the guys at the bottom, like Alberto Hernandez, Kyle Stowers, who has spent a lot of the year injured, Owen Casey, guys like this hitting at 220 or lower, that's been a little bit of an issue. Christopher Morel just has never really developed, and for Stowers, he's starting to show a little bit more power, but 3 home runs in about 112 at-bats. You expect a bit more there for the Marlins. This has been a pretty rock-solid bullpen. They're a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA, even with having someone like an Andrew Nardi not necessarily having a great start to the season. He's posted up an ERA right around about a 5. For Anthony Bender, after a rough start to the season, he's rounding into form as he and Lake Bakar, both between a 275 to a 350 ERA, but then you've got Josh Eknes, John King, along with Tyler Phillips, who will be able to give you a sub-250 ERA, but I do think that for Junkie gives up some runs. I just think that Trey Savage is going to continue to go out there and dominate. I do think that there might be a little bit of regression with what we've seen thus far this season, because Savage's home runs per 9 rate is currently 0. 107 ERA is just hard to maintain, even for how good he is, but at 10.3 strikeouts, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, so it's coming off the injury list. He's been the real deal. I think that he gives up a little bit here, but I do think that the Blue Jays do enough to be able to get the job done in this case, and you're finding that run line right around plus 125, plus 130 We'll take a plus 128 or better. So, like the Blue Jays run line and the total to the over, that'll wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is by Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letter CM, they mean does not matter. So, as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast, give you guys picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.